Shalom, everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Take with Rosh Ya'acob ben Abraham. I am Rosh Ya'acob ben Abraham, Rabbi of Gethsemane Spiritual Temple Congregation. Tonight's show, we're going to deal with the arrest of a famous reporter. His name is Don Lemon. A lot of people know him for being on CNN. And after being released from CNN, he went on to start a podcast. Now, I don't know much about his podcast, but apparently he has a large following on his podcast. And he runs it like a news show where he goes out, he does interviews, he sits, he talks about different things and all of that. And he's just still out here doing what he does. And this time doing what he did, it wrote him a check that he couldn't cash, right? That's what happened. So you'll say, well, what you mean? What you mean? What you mean? Well, let's look at what happens, right? Let's look at this. So we're going to go right into this. This is coming from his old place of employment, CNN. And she's going to talk about this. And we're going to see what happens. Let me rewind this a little bit. We want to see what happens, okay?
Former CNN anchor and a former colleague of mine and friend, Don Lemon, has been taken into custody by federal agents, according to his attorney.
So, I remember this was breaking news. Everybody was talking about, I'm like, Don Lemon got locked up. What in the world? What's going on, right? It was like, okay, yeah, Don Lemon has been arrested. Like, it just hit the internet like wildfire. Don Lemon's been arrested, right? And I was like, well, what in the world they arrest Don Lemon for, right? And we're going to see that it was for a protest. I said, he was leading a protest? I thought he was a reporter. What are you doing leading a protest? Ain't he supposed to be reporting on it? So let's see what happens.
It comes after Lemon covered the protest earlier this month. Dozens of anti-ICE protesters rushing inside of a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Now, Don has said that...
Now, so he was reporting. He was covering a story of a protest that happened at a church. So why was he arrested for that? Well, we're going to find out that this protest wasn't just people standing outside the church yelling and protesting and saying we don't like what's going on in this church. No, these people actually went inside the church service and disrupted it. And as they're disrupting the service at church, you're going to see Don Lemon is going to put a microphone in the preacher's face and say, what do you think about what's happening right now? Now, some people might argue it's freedom of speech, freedom of the press. They're supposed to be able to do that. Again, we're going to be talking about if it's ethical. Was it ethical to do this? Was it something ethical to do? And just because you can do something, do it mean that you should? He probably should have waited till they came outside and then asked them what happened. Right? But him going in there with them made it seem like he was a part of it. But I don't know. Let's keep listening.
That he was just there as a journalist, photographing the incident as a journalist, asking questions as a journalist after the protesters went in, and has been very clear he was not part of the protest group.
Now, he said he's just there as a journalist, but yet you're in there participating with the disruption of the church. It's disruption. Now, I'm saying this, some people might say, well, come on, he should have been able to go in there. He should have been able to do this. This is freedom of speech, freedom of the press. He should be able to do this. Again, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Let's keep that in mind.
In a statement, Don Lemon's attorney says quote, this unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attempt to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand.
Now, is this really an attack? Now, some go, oh yeah, it's an attack. Look, they got Don Lemon. They locked Don Lemon up. How could it not be an attack? What are you talking about? He's a reporter. He's reporting on the news. You can't lock reporters up on the news just because you don't like what they're saying about you in the news. You can't lock them up for that. But what they're arguing is that this was disruption. And him coming in there with the cameras is the same thing. They're trying to say, it's like the episode on cheaters. You know how cheaters do? The guy get everybody together. So, okay, guys, we're going to run in there. We're going to bust in. I'm going to get in front of the camera. I'm going to say, why are you cheating? Why are you cheating? And the person, we're going to catch them off guard. They ain't going to know what's happening. And we're going to put the camera and a mic and a light in their face. So that's what this guy is saying. Like, that's what he's saying. I understand what we're saying, what other people are saying. It's freedom of the press. It's freedom of speech. He should be able to do this, right? But they're saying they feel like Don Lemon was a part of the planning team for the protests. His job was to make sure the world seen the protests. So let's keep it going.
Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. Now, I just want to quickly let you know, Don Lemon spoke with Allison Camerata, another former colleague and friend from CNN, who now works for Scripps News, about the church incident. Let's go to what she told us just moments ago.
So he said that he was covering a protest. This is the St. Paul church. The protesters had reason to believe that the pastor there was an ICE agent. And so Don, the way Don described it to me is that he was doing what we do. He was covering a protest. He wasn't conspiring with them. He knew that they were going to be protesting something. He wasn't in on their plans, he says beforehand.
See, that's what they're going to be trying to prove. See how she's trying to word it a certain way? Because he was in on the plans, he was part of the protest. Get what I'm saying? If he was in on the plans, if he had an intricate part where they say, at this point you come in, right? Then he was a part of it. He was a part of it. So, but he's just saying, I just got a scoop that it was going to happen. I knew something was going, I didn't really know what was going to happen. And then when I seen it happen, I said, go, 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 go. But they like, no. Now I don't know if they got some of these. They might have some of these people to flip. Some of these people might say Don Lemon planned the whole thing. I don't know.
Which is one of the things that the DOJ has suggested. And then he stayed outside, he says. The protesters went inside the church. And when he realized that the protest was unfolding inside the church, he then went inside. And so
see how he said it? He said, I did not go in there when they went in there. I seen them protesters going in there. I realized something was happening inside the church. So then I came in there to report on what was happening inside the church. But I wasn't a part of it. Like, it's all us came in there together and they started protesting. I started recording. That's what he's saying. He said I wasn't a part of it like that.
You know, obviously our legal experts can describe whether that's trespassing on private property, but either way, that's a misdemeanor. And, you know, the idea that Don Lemon as a journalist has now been arrested is just in an entirely different category.
Yeah, so I got this video in the description if you want to watch the rest of it. But I was just looking at this, right? And let's see how Willie look at it.
What's up, family? Breaking news out of LA. Journalist Don Lemon has been arrested for his role in covering, as a journalist, a peaceful protest in St. Paul, Minnesota. Check it out.
In the 8 o'clock hour with this breaking news, journalist and former CNN anchor Don Lemon is due in a federal courtroom this morning after being arrested here in Los Angeles last night. The Department of Justice says it has revived a case that was rejected by a federal judge last week. It involves the disruption of a church service in Minneapolis by anti-ICE protesters that Lemon was covering as a journalist. KTLA's Omar Lewis, live in downtown LA, with this breaking news. Omar, good morning.
Good morning, Frank. Yeah, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says she directed the arrest of independent journalist and former CNN anchor Don Lemon and 3 others. Lemon, as you mentioned, was arrested here in Los Angeles last night. Pam Bondi says that this is all in connection to what she calls a coordinated attack at that Minnesota church during the protests. Lemon now denying any wrongdoing, saying he was there in his capacity as a journalist. We are expecting to make his first federal court appearance here at the federal building later today. Want to take you to the...
I think what makes it hard is we don't normally see people have a certain respect or lack of respect for the congregation or for the church, right? And notice what it says, right? It says that they locked up several people, right?
What do you mean they've arrested 4 journalists and then 4 black journalists at that? You really think this is random? I really hope you don't think that this is random. The administration is testing boundaries. They're seeing what they can get away with. They're seeing how far they can take it by taking away independent news outlets or outlets that are promoting the truth, boots on the ground. We saw what Don Lemon covered in Minnesota when they discovered that not even Don Lemon, he was just reporting the story, but when the people discovered that the pastor was an undercover agent. Say what you want, but this is a test. They want to see how upset people are going to get. They want to see how much pushback they're going to get. They want to see what they're able to get away with.
So she said she's pointed out the fact that the only people that seemingly had these charges pressed against them were these black reporters. And she's saying they're being targeted because they're black. And they try and see how far they can push the envelope. Because of course you let them get an inch, they're gonna take a mile. So that's what she's saying. Right. Now, again, you got 4 reporters. I don't know. I'm torn by this. Y'all might say, why I say like you torn by this? You seem like you torn by this. Why? I'm torn by this because I feel like I've seen people run up in churches before, and I feel like it's wrong. It's wrong to run up in a church just because you don't like what they're doing. I had seen brothers post videos being Israelites going up in Sunday churches yelling and arguing and all this stuff, and the people asking them to leave and they bucking and on. I think we did a video last year about that, on the last season about that, how the guy came in there bucking on the pastor and yelling, and the people had to escort him out the congregation. If I can find that, I'm gonna link that video to this video. But I believe we talked about that before, right? This is crazy. You just coming in somebody's building of worship, right? Now, most people are thinking it ain't no big deal, but this is sort of a big deal, right? I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it ain't no big deal." So what? They popped up in there. Don Lemon and them was good. They was all right. You know, they had the right to do that, right? And then let me bring in an example. Now, a lot of people don't like this brother, but the brother is on point right here. Jamal Bryant is going to say something that's on point. He's going to say something that's on point. I know a lot of people don't like him. They don't want to hear what he got to say, but he's going to be making sense right here. Listen to what Jamal's saying. This is what Jamal's saying.
And for propaganda and disturbance, filmed themselves coming into our church.
Now, let me catch you up to what he's talking about. Some people came up in their church. Some white evangelicals came up in there yelling, preaching, disturbing the service, all of that. Just came in there yelling at everybody in there, disturbing the service, right? He said this guy did this and nobody ain't do nothing. He didn't get locked up. Him and his wife came in and did all this stuff and nothing happened to them, right? But yet, Don Lemon going to a church and just reporting. Him and those other reporters, they go into the church and just reporting on the chaos that's happening. And you say, you know what, y'all getting locked up. Did that seem right? I know he said freedom of speech, but is that ethical? Should you be able to just run up in a church service and do something like that? I don't think so, but I'm gonna let Jamal Bryant finish.
Using hate speech, condemning us with wrath, judgment, and correction completely out of order.
Now, when he says using hate speech, they was making it like because they was black preachers and ministers and so forth, they couldn't understand the Bible. Right? And basically saying that, right? So that's why he said using hate speech.
And since you are against places of worship being disturbed, and this gentleman attempted to do it at a black church, I want to know, when is the arrest warrant? I don't know his name, but that picture should be clear enough.
Now, he even got the picture of the guy. He like, okay, y'all said it's wrong to go up and disrupt church services. You lock Don Lemon and those guys up, lock him up. Because he did the same thing to us. Let's be fair. Oh, it's only if it's a white church you can't just bust up in there. But anybody else's church, you can do it. That's what you said? Oh, I got it. It's only for white churches that matter. Come on now. Come on.
For you to be able to track it down with the full spans of the FBI. Why didn't we have this same kind of calculated rage, outrage, and disturbance? This white evangelical nationalist pastor had the audacity, he and his wife, to get out of his car, as you just saw, and for propaganda and disturbance, filmed themselves coming into our church, using hate speech, condemning us with wrath, judgment.
So that's what Jamal Bryant had to say on the situation. I know how I would feel if you can't bust up in our service and thought you just was going to be in the back yelling and wilding and acting like a fool. It's not going to go well for you. Let's just put it that way. It's not going to go well for you. Right? So let's look at what Bishop about to say. Bishop got some words, and when I heard Bishop say this, I said, this is what I'm seeing. Right? Same thing that Bishop say. Watch what Bishop going to say. Let's see what Bishop going to say about this.
Have you seen this video?
When protesters interrupted a church service, this pastor did this.
Y'all see when them people invaded that church the other day? Now, I just want to say to
protesters and all of them. Don't do that here. Amen. Don Lemon, don't come here. You roll up in this church doing stuff like that, it's going to be the Royal Rumble. And
See what he said? You know, he said, come on, preacher, why this preacher talk like that? He telling you the truth. You know, this man go up just in any place doing what you think you will be able to do. We're going to go in there with signs and protests. Don Lemon, come record it. Like, what? That's why I say, when I first heard, I said, dang, you got freedom of speech. You got freedom of the press, right? But then I started thinking, you know, but again, this is why he stresses so much that he wasn't part of the plan. He just came with the mic and put the mic in a guy's face. But he said, I wasn't part of the plan, right? I wasn't in the planning thing saying, yeah, I'm going to run up in this church. I just seen they wasn't coming outside. I thought they was going to protest outside, but I say the protest was happening inside. So I went inside. They get the scoop. You know how reporters always want to get the scoop. Sometimes that scoop can mess you up. I'm gonna let the bishop say it one more time. Let's hear the bishop say it again.
Have you seen this video?
When protesters interrupted a church service, this pastor did this.
Y'all see when them people invaded that church the other day? Now, I just want to say to protesters and all of them, don't do that here. Amen. Don Lemon, don't come here. You roll up in this church doing stuff like that, it's going to be the Royal Rumble. And the funny thing is, I'm not joking. We have worked hard. We built the church in the name of the Lord. We dedicated it to the Lord. It's built for worship. Our blood, sweat, tears, and finances are in this place. And some people who have never darkened the door of the church and never contributed one dime to it, gonna roll up in here and disturb our service and scare our children and shout obscenities in the church. That will not stand in this church.
See what I'm saying? And that's all the stuff that he did. They shouting and saying all kind of crazy stuff. The people jumping up like, what's happening right now? We hate you, ICE, and all this stuff. And it's like, no. I believe it's a certain way things should be done. And that should have been done outside. Y'all could have surrounded the church. Maybe y'all felt like it wasn't enough of y'all, cause it was a good amount of people. It wasn't that much people, so I don't know if they felt like, well, it ain't enough of us to be outside, cause they not gonna pay us no attention. So why don't we just go ahead and run inside? They not gonna pay us no attention if we just be outside yelling and huffing and puffing. We want to go inside, cause that way it'll like we got more numbers, because now we on the inside. So that 20 or 30 of us will look good on the inside versus 20 or 30 people on the outside is nothing. They like, well, whatever. They walk by, they won't pay you no attention. But now y'all force them to pay you some attention. And like Bishop said, hey, I can say it. I can say it clear as day. Like, come on now. Come on. But people be so ready. And people's real adamant about it. People's real adamant about it. You know, they said a whole bunch of good stuff about Don Lemon. You know, even Don Lemon himself made a couple of jokes. Listen to how we going to joke about it a little bit. Watch this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5, except it's Lemon Live at 5 Pacific Coast time, Pacific time. Thank you so much for joining this evening on a Friday. Sorry, I'm 3 hours late for the 5 o'clock show, but, you know, I had some things that I had to do today.
See, I had some things I had to do today. I had to go to court, right? But this gave more traffic to his channel, too. Right, more people watch, more views. So, like what NWA said, all publicity is good publicity. All publicity is good publicity. You just gotta know how to spin it. He's spinning it. He rolling with it. Everybody knows he's this good reporter from back in the day. People like, oh, they like him out. What's going on? Like, what did he do out of all people? right? He staged a riot. Like that's what they try to say. They try to say those protesters staged a riot inside of the church. And they saying that Don Lemon was a part of it. But what do you guys think? You know, at the end of the day, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Don Lemon conspired with these guys? Or do y'all think that he just, like he said, he was outside, he thought it was going to be outside, he seen it was inside, he didn't want to lose the memento, so he followed them in, and he already seen them in there yelling and stuff. He say the pastor was irate, and then he comes over to the pastor and puts the mic in his face and start asking him questions. I don't know. This is my take on it, though. I just feel like there's certain places for certain things. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you, right? That's what the Rebbe taught. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. So if I don't want others to come bum rushing my congregation and disturbing our service because they want to prove a point, then I can't be on the side of nobody doing it to somebody else. Even if it's a Catholic church, even if it's a pagan church, because if they do it to them, they will do it to you. And that's what I need you to see. If they do it to them, if they bum rush them and do all this stuff to them, guess what? What's going to stop them from doing it to you? That's the same thing that a lot of the white people are learning now. When they used to say, oh, come on, you blacks had to do something. Oh, come on, guy, and all that. And then you see what happened with the woman in the car, Renee. You see what happened with Renee? And then you also see what happened with Pretty. Now, if that had been black people that would have happened to, guess what? It'd have been an excuse. Well, they was driving a car. Right? It had been an excuse. Well, he did have a firearm, but it's hard to say when the culprit that they trying to get us to look at a certain way look like them. Hard to say. So again, let me know in the description below what y'all think about this. You know, how do y'all feel about this situation? All right. Yeah, just let me know how y'all feel about this situation. All right, everyone. So I thank you guys again for making tonight's show a good one. Again, this was about ethics. Ethics. Is it ethical for them to do what they did? And do you believe that Don Lemon did conspire with those guys? Or was it like he said, they just gave him a tip and he showed up for the tip? Let me know below. All right, with that being said and done, I want to wish you all Layla Tov and Shalom.
Shema Yisrael Adonai